She walked out of a Mercedes G-Wagon that had just rolled down a hill 8 times. Then, minutes later, someone put a gun to her head. She survived both. And the first thing she did was thank God, not post it for clout. The girl Kenya spent 5 years screaming about had changed. But to understand where Shakilla Tiffany is now, you first have to understand the girl who started a war from her bedroom with nothing but a hidden phone and a very loud mouth. She was born on April 20th, 2001, in Jamhuri Estate, one of Nairobi's no-nonsense working-class neighborhoods, the firstborn of 3 children in a household ruled by discipline. Her father was strict, her mother her closest confidant. Rules were not suggestions in that house. She was not allowed to own a phone, and so when she finally saved enough money to buy one, she hid it, waiting until the house went quiet at night before she dared scroll a screen. That small act of rebellion in the dark, a teenager consuming the world by torchlight, contained the entire blueprint of who she was about to become. She was also not hiding from failure. Shakilla attended the prestigious Limuru Girls High School, one of Kenya's top national boarding institutions, and reportedly left with a B+ grade in her KCSE examinations. She was smart. She just had other plans. The year 2020 should have buried ambitions. The COVID-19 pandemic had locked down Kenya, shuttered venues, silenced industries. But for a 19-year-old with a phone, a face, and absolutely no fear, it was an open field. Shakilla burst into the national consciousness through Della's viral Club COVID Instagram live sessions and the 2 shattered records, attracting the highest number of simultaneous viewers ever recorded on an Instagram live in Kenya at the time. The country was starved for entertainment, and here was a young woman, unfiltered and electric, who looked at the camera like she had been waiting her whole life for it to find her. She had not released a song. She had not starred in a film. She had simply shown up, and Kenya had stopped everything to watch. What happened next was not a career, it was a detonation. In a live interview with Della, Shakilla publicly claimed she had been sexually involved with some of Kenya's most recognizable celebrities, including international footballer Victor Wanyama, rapper Calligraph Jones, and singer Oda Brown. She alleged that Wanyama had paid her 700,000 shillings for her company. The claims exploded across social media with a velocity that shook the entertainment industry to its foundation. Wanyama refused to absorb the blow quietly. His legal team issued a formal demand letter, accusing Shakilla of scandalizing his name and reputation and threatening to pursue every available legal remedy. Calligraph Jones gave her a public 2-hour ultimatum to retract and apologize, and for once she did. But the storm had already rewritten her story. In a single interview, a girl from Jamhuri Estate had become the most searched name in Kenyan entertainment. The public was outraged. The public was also riveted. Shakilla leaned into the chaos with the confidence of someone who understood, perhaps better than her critics, exactly what she was doing. She coined a title for herself, Queen of the Streets, and wore it without apology. She appeared on comedian Eric Omondi's Wife Material reality show, expanding her reach to a new audience. She launched an OnlyFans account and claimed to have channeled the earnings into starting her own agency. She moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Nairobi and made no secret of her contempt for the bedsitter lifestyle. But perhaps her most revealing public moment came in 2023 when she picked a fight with Kenya's most established socialite, Vera Sidika. Shakilla publicly told Vera, older, wealthier, more decorated, to retire from the streets and go home to breastfeed her children, declaring that the Gen Z generation was taking over. Vera fired back viciously. The country watched with popcorn. And through all of it, Shakilla stood at the center, not performing innocence, not seeking sympathy, but absolutely refusing to be small. By the time she crossed 300,000 Instagram followers and earned her blue verification tick, Shakilla had turned notoriety into a legitimate business. She began charging $50 to reply to direct messages on Instagram, a bold monetization move that drew both ridicule and admiration. She had disclosed, in a candid interview, that she had been recruited into a lesbian group while at Limuru Girls, a revelation that shocked audiences, but which she discussed without shame. She had been deported from Turkey for overstaying her visa by 2 months, fined, and banned, and she had narrated every detail to her followers in real time. She had publicly declared she would never date a Kenyan man, then reversed course months later. She tattooed her ex-boyfriend's faces on her body when they died. Everything about her life was a headline, and she had made peace with that, perhaps because she was the one writing them. Then came South Africa. Sometime around 2023 and 2024, Shakilla relocated from Nairobi to South Africa, trading the city that had made her infamous for a new chapter of luxury and reinvention. She shared glimpses of fine dining, shopping sprees, and a new home, the kind of life that had once existed only in aspiration. But 2025 would test her in ways that no controversy ever had. She and her friend were traveling in a Mercedes G-Wagon abroad when the vehicle rolled downhill more than 8 times. They walked out with minor scratches. Moments later, armed robbers held them at gunpoint. Shakilla survived both incidents. When the year ended, she did not post the shopping hauls or the new apartment. She posted the wrecked G-Wagon, and she thanked God. It was the most honest thing she had ever shared with the internet, and it hit differently than anything that had come before. In 2026, Shakilla Tiffany is still only in her mid-20s, and yet the arc of her story already spans generations of Kenyan internet culture. She arrived in the middle of a pandemic, weaponized a phone she had been forbidden to own, and built a platform from pure audacity. She made mistakes publicly, paid for them publicly, and kept moving. She represents something complicated and necessary about the age she came of age in. A girl who grasped the mechanics of digital fame at 19 and refused, at every turn, to let the world define her on its own terms. She grew up hiding under the covers in Jamhuri Estate, whispering into a screen. Now she has survived car crashes, gunpoint robberies, lawsuits, deportations, and the full weight of Kenyan public opinion. And she is still here, still building, still unapologetically herself. The streets did not make Shakilla Tiffany. They just gave her an audience.